Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. As I said earlier, this is an MS Views and News program. We have not been to this area, I think, since 2018 or 2017, but I'm really feeling very fortunate that we're able to get back here again. As I mentioned earlier, there was a lady sitting out there in the audience that got MS Views and News to first come here about 15 years ago, and that's Karen Hart. She was a big-time support group leader back then, and we welcome her for doing what she does. Tonight's program, so I don't sit here rattling around all night. But tonight's program, we are sponsored by TG Therapeutics and Novartis, Sanofi and Genentech. And I hope that we could all give them a round of applause. Thank them for being here. Thank you. Thank them for supporting our program, because it's not possible for us to do these programs wherever we do them in the United States. When you guys last saw us, we were primarily only doing programs in the southeast portion of the United States. Now we're doing 40 programs a year in person, from coast to coast, east to west, north and south, and all around town, all right? So I want to thank everybody that is involved with our programs for doing them. Jeff's going to be speaking with you about interactive movement, getting you up and out and moving around. Let's get started. Jeff?
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me? Thank you, Stuart. Cheers. It's water, just so you don't think it's alcohol. At least don't come and smell it, please. So I'm here to talk about peace. No, that's so 2020, right? The 2000s, no peace. But we can have peace with MS, right? Peace of mind, not a piece of cake. It's not easy because we're dealing with things that we didn't expect to deal with. And one thing is, I drink a lot of water. How many people in here have spasticity issues? So one of the things we're going to talk about is spasticity and how to reduce it. The number one thing that I like to do to reduce spasticity is make sure you're hydrated. Because if you're not hydrated, you're going to have spasticity. And it doesn't take MS to cause that. That's just the way it is. So if you feel like you're not drinking enough water, chances are you're not. And if you're thirsty, it's too late. So make sure you stay hydrated throughout the day. If you're going to exercise, how many people in here exercise? How many people in here cannot wait to get up here and do a demonstration with me? And I know who's raising their hand, so I'm going to call on you. All right. So I'm going to talk about movement, how to increase the ability to move better, what it takes to move better, and the majority of that comes from up here. Because you control what your actions are going to be. Not all of them. You can't control what you can't do, but you can control what activities you're going to do and what activities you're going to pick to do. So if there's 10 activities and there's only 3 that you could possibly do, then you're going to be picking between those 3. The other 7 are off the table, so don't worry about them. And don't waste time thinking about them. And that's something that I notice all the time. I'll be matched up with somebody that I'm going to be working with physically, and I ask them, what would you like to do? And they'll list everything they can't do and never will be able to do. And I'll ask them, have you ever done that in your life? This person, say 55, 60 years old? No. Well, now that you got MS, you think it's a good time to try? No, that's not going to work. Building blocks. You got to start somewhere. And if you stopped a long time ago, you got to start over somewhere. How many people have gone, and you can raise your hand and no one's going to judge you except for me. How many people haven't exercised in 10 years? Honestly. Now, I guarantee you there's a lot of people that either can't raise their hand or won't raise their hand. Because exercise is probably the one thing that people think about 10 times more than they actually do. So out of the people that don't exercise, how many people think about exercising? Right? So that's a problem. So how do you get yourself to do it? Realistic goals. Goals are the most important thing when it comes to exercise, because if you have no goal, it's like, I'm going to go to a program, I just don't know where it is. You'll be wandering aimlessly and you have no idea. So you want to find someone that understands exercise. And you want to talk to your physician to make sure you can exercise. And talk to your physician about the type of exercise he does. If he's your physician, he exercises. It's good to have a physician that exercises, because if you don't practice what you preach, it's hard to get the message home, right? So how many people in here came to find a new exercise, a new movement, or something that they can do that they can't, or that they think they can't? It doesn't mean anything. Usually means I haven't tried, haven't attempted. But in order to fail, you got to try, and failure is okay, especially in the gym. If you don't fail every time you go to the gym, you're not going to make any gains. That's the definition of gain in a gym, is working to failure. Not to where you can't get up and do anything, but to where the last rep that you're doing when it's resistance exercise, you can't do and you need help getting it up, or you know you don't have another one left to do. That's the biggest problem. Most people stop when they can keep going. How many people in here say, I'm going to do 15 reps of something, and they do 15 reps and stop at 15? But you still have a few left in the tank. Those few are the most important ones. And that's how we determine how much we can lift. So I'm talking power, strength, and endurance. You can calculate by doing something 6 times what percentage of one it's going to be, so you can actually do the math and figure out how heavy you can lift, as long as you're doing it to failure. If you're not doing it to failure, that's like saying, well, I took my car and I drove 60 miles an hour. I think it could only go 60 miles an hour. But you didn't try to go faster. I went faster when I was coming here. I wouldn't have made it. So, anybody here have an exercise that they'd like me to demonstrate before I get on to demonstrating what I'd like to demonstrate? Because this program's for you. You guys, nobody has a question about anything that they'd like to learn to do or have me demonstrate it? Come on. All right. Someone raising their hand back there? All right, so exercise 101. The first thing you do when you're going to exercise is properly prepare by dressing with the right clothes. We have heat issues. If you're in a gym and you're not feeling like you're getting warmer, you're not working hard enough. If it's warm and you get into the gym, it's time to get out of the gym, because the exercise recommended temperatures indoors is 66 to 70 degrees for people with MS. Sounds cool, doesn't it? We're in South Florida. That's cold. That's a cold front, right? But it's not. And if it's 66 degrees and you're actually moving a lot, you're going to heat yourself up. So that's when cooling, tire, and things may help. So be prepared. Preparation. If you're not prepared, you're not going to do it. So once you're in the gym or at home, I work out at the house, but you got to warm up, get your body and your muscles warm so they can work properly. How many people in here stretch? I like to stretch people at the end of their workout when they're warm, or if they have spasticity issues, either before, after they warmed up, or during the exercise if they have spasticity or cramping. They kind of go hand in hand. I mean, there's some cramping that falls into spasticity. Doesn't mean it's from MS, but what it does mean is you don't want it to continue. How many people want to come up and feel what this feels like? Come on, someone raise your hand. Come on. Come on up. But before coming up, are you giving consent to be in stage filmed? It's fine? Okay. So I'm going to let you do some fun stuff. He gets to do the fun stuff. You guys have to watch. Okay. Okay, so you got a little weakness in your left side, right?
Yeah.
All right. How are your hands?
Hands are fine.
All right. Then hold on to this. How's your balance?
Not good.
Not good? No. Can you hold it with both hands, and I'm going to hold you like this?
Okay, I can hold it with one of you. I can do that.
He's saying he can hold it with one hand.
I can.
All right. Probably that hand better than that one. But if you try holding it with both, I won't let you fall. If you do, we'll have one of these people drag you out. Don't worry.
Okay. Try and keep balance because of what one of the physical therapists had taught me when she came to the house.
So he wants to keep his balance. You've been working it with a PT, right?
Yeah, I was discharged, but
He was discharged. But okay, so you were discharged, but you're still continuing the exercises. So what I want you to do with this is just hold it in front of you and go side to side like this. Just a little bit. Do you feel that in here? That's your core. If that wasn't working, you would have fallen already.
No, it's like it's just working then.
Yeah, okay, now what I want you to do is, let's see. I want you to throw it at me.
At you?
Yeah, no, at me. You know what? You know how many times I've told people to throw it to me? They're like, I don't want to throw it to you. Nobody's ever given up the chance to throw it at me. Okay, now what I want you to do is take it and throw it at the ground. Straight, as hard as part. That feel okay?
Yeah, fine.
So, what's that? No, he said it was fine. It was easy for him to throw to the ground. So something like this can be fun because you can throw it really hard at the ground, or you can throw it really hard at me. Well, I'm happy you didn't throw it like that at me.
No.
I would have caught it. Trust me. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming up.
Okay, thank you.
All right. This is a medicine ball. This is 8 pounds. These come in different weights. This is a sandbag, and this is the same shape as a medicine ball, but this is just a bouncy ball. So nobody is scared. Who wants to come up and play with one of these? I say play because exercise can be play. All right, come on up. Well, I gotta get her in front of the camera. Are you giving consent? You gotta turn around.
Yes,
You're giving consent to come up. All right, come on up here. Okay, hold on to this. I'm gonna put these down. Okay, so have you ever exercised with one of those?
Yes.
Okay, let me see this. What kind of exercise? Do you exercise?
So,
Sometimes? Do you do resistance exercise or just aerobic?
both.
Yes.
On a recumbent bike and some resistance.
So she does a little bit of exercise, a little bit of everything, right? A
Yes.
little mix. So I'm going to show you guys, if you do a bench press and you're laying on your back, how many people here know what a bench press is? Okay, you know what that determines? How much weight you can press from the ground up or from a bench up, which is good for building muscle size and strength, but not for function, because unless someone falls on top of you, you really don't need that support on your back. That's why we have core. Core strength is important. Now, something like this, if you're working with somebody, is one of your hands stronger than the other?
Right is.
Well, okay, so let's work with the left.
Okay.
All right, so what I want you to do with this hand, I just want you to push forward like you're doing a one-arm bench press. Now let it come back. Now push. Where do you feel that? Do you feel that in your core? Do you feel it in your chest or your arms or everywhere?
Arm and core.
Okay, where do you feel in your core?
In here
Okay.
to try to stay up.
So what she's doing is she's pressing, but she's preventing her body from turning. Because if she was just to press and I was not moving whatsoever, her body would turn. So she's using her rotational muscles absent rotation. Let's do it a couple times with this side. You're right, you are stronger with that side. So that's something good you can do by yourself with a band. You can go have a seat. Thank you so much for coming up here. Give her a round of applause. You can do that with somebody that's like myself, that's resisting, or you can get a band like this and attach it to a door. All you gotta do is close it in the doorway. And when you're doing the band presses, now if you're doing it standing, if you can stand and do it, you're developing core strength. If you sit down and do it and your back is not supported, you're developing core strength. If you can't do it any other way without having support, you can still get stronger and use the band or the ball or do your body weight. How many people in here remember the last time they did a push-up? How many people in here have a 10+ year memory? I'm just kidding. Push-ups are great for the upper body if you can do them. If you have problems with hip flexors, it's not the best thing for you because your hip flexors are supporting you. So if you were to get into a push-up position, what's working is everything facing the ground. Does that make sense? So your core is working, your abs are working, your hip flexors, your chest, all the stuff facing the ground. And if you can't do any more, your face is working too. But that's not the goal. That's not the goal. And these bands come in all different sizes. So does anybody want to come up here and take a try at one of these two bands? Don't worry, this is the heavy one. This is the one you're going to use. No, I'm just kidding. You can use whichever one you want. But I want one more volunteer coming up. You want to come up? Since you're wearing pink, come on up. Just no running, jumping, or backflips. Thank you. Thank you. I always have to say that just in case. It's only happened once or twice, but not in front of me. Okay, now that you're in front of that,
Right.
let them all know. You're okay to be on here? Okay. So what I want you to do, bring that up here. Use this as a chair when you're tired.
Okay.
Okay, have a seat.
Yes, sometimes, yeah.
Okay, so have a seat and face out that way.
Okay.
Okay, so without leaning against the back, I'm going to give you the lighter band.
Okay.
And which is your dominant side?
This side.
Okay, so I'll let you do it the dominant side. So what I want you to do is what looks like a push-up. I can give you, actually I'm going to give you both of them, but first I'm going to let you do it with this one. So that would be just a press forward. So it's going to look just like this. So if you're not leaning up against the back, and this is right here, now bring your arm back towards me. Now push it forward. Can you feel how that works your core and your arm and your chest? All that's working. It works. You're feeling it. And these are easy. These are easy because this right here, you just close a door on it, and now you've got everything you need. Now, when you're pulling the opposite, you can use both hands this time. Okay, so now what I want you to do is this would be a row. So let your arms go out forward. Now pull. Okay, so now what she's doing is the opposite of what she did before, which was a push. This is a pull. And what she's working is the muscles facing that way. That's good. So what this is doing, it's pulling her this way. Her body's staying upright. Her lower back is getting work, and her upper back is getting stronger. But statically, your lower back is working because you're stopping yourself from falling forward. That's core strength.
Okay.
Now I'm going to...
It worked.
Yeah, you felt it, right? So they get as heavy as this. I just want you to feel the difference between the lightest and the heaviest one.
Okay, okay.
You feel that? Try to pull. Yeah, you can pull it too. It's pretty hard, right?
Yeah.
That's hard. So if you were to have this in the door, you just got to make sure the door is closed and that the walls are put up right, or you'll pull the house down. I've never seen anything happen unless you put it on a doorknob, then forget about it. Now I'm going to let you do one other thing because I think it's fun. If you don't think it's fun, then I want you to throw this at the ground.
Okay, hard?
It's pretty heavy, right?
Standing?
It's 8 pounds. You can stand if you want.
Okay. Well, if you're going to get some rib,
How'd that feel?
I was hoping it would pop back up.
No, not today. If I bring the trampoline.
Okay.
But that's the whole thing. If you were to do this and you throw it at the ground and you pick it up, you just did a deadlift. So you're working here and here in the back of your legs. So, and if you do it 10 times, you're going to be doing deadlifts and doing an upper body, lower body combo of a workout. And it'll tire you out. And it's working your core, and it's fun, and you can pretend you're throwing it at me. So if anything else, if there's something you can't remember, go to the gym, get a ball like this, pretend I'm there on the ground and throw it at me.
One quick thing about balls.
Yeah.
Here in Florida, most people have whatever dial. You throw that to the floor, is it going to crack the dial? It's 8 pounds.
I'm not going to be responsible for your floor if you break it, but I've done this with so many people, and not once have I had a tile break. He asked if you throw it to the ground, is it going to break a tile? However, if you put a little piece of carpet on top of it, like a doormat, you could do it on the doormat. And if you get a mat, like you'd lay on an exercise mat, they're usually a little bit of foam. Then when you slam it on the ground, you might get it to come back up and bounce. So this, if you throw it hard enough, I got it back up to bounce. But it's just shaped a little different now. So it's fun, right? Okay, so now throw it this way to me. She's using rotational muscles because you don't see her completely rotating, but do you feel your muscles in your core? So now do it twice this way.
To turn or not to turn?
Well, it depends. The goal is not to turn if you're seated.
It seems like it's harder on this side now. I don't know why.
Well, you said that side was stronger.
Well, that's true.
So all right, back to the beginning. You were right. So, but they're fun. This is something that's fun. If you can make exercise fun, it's that much more likely you're going to do it. And trust me, it can be fun. The first few times it might not be, but once you get in the habit of doing it, you don't want to miss it because it's a habit. And you want to keep doing it and keep doing it because making a habit or breaking a habit takes about the same amount of time, 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, you start to feel stronger. You start to realize that you're smiling more. And other people notice it. And then other people are going to ask you, what's the secret? You tell them you learned it in your first day at school. That was called recess. You can go have a seat.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So how many people in here are looking to lose weight? I mean, I can look around and tell some people you should lose weight, but I want you guys to acknowledge that you're one of them. And what is it that you feel will help you lose weight? Because weight loss is pretty simple until you have a metabolic illness. And if you wait long enough, you will.
Eat less and exercise more.
But there you go, eat less and exercise more. As long as you don't eat too little, which I don't think most of us have a problem of doing that, right? The goal when you're eating is to eat for what you're going to do. So if you plan to eat for what exercise or activity you're going to do throughout a day, you're probably going to be on better course than eating less the next day because you did less yesterday. No, you don't want to do that. Then you're starving yourself. Then you're wasting your muscle away. But if you eat for what you plan to do, A, stick with the plan so that you don't overeat, because whatever you eat that you don't use turns to fat. Doesn't matter if it's protein, carbohydrate, or fat, it will turn to fat if you don't use it. And fat takes up a lot more space than carbohydrates and protein, like 2.5 more times space. Even alcohol. Alcohol's got, okay, just how many people in here know how many calories per gram are in each macronutrient? Anybody? Okay, we got a couple people to raise their hand. Carbohydrates, 4 calories per gram. Protein, 4 calories per gram. Fat, 9 calories per gram. Alcohol, 7+ calories per gram. That goes to nothing but the belly. You might have a little bit of fun for a little while, but then when it wears off, it's not so much fun, is it? And with MS, it's not a good thing to have too much alcohol. You know why? Same reason if you don't have MS. It's just moderation, everything in moderation. And if you have a problem with alcohol, don't drink it. So I've been exercising since my diagnosis. I don't know how many people in here know that I have MS, but I've been living with MS for, I don't know, I'm not good with math, but since 1998, so over 25 years. And I was told that I'd never walk again, see again, talk again, balance again. I could probably do the whole talk on one leg right now. That's not because of luck. Part of it is, but the majority of it is because I work really hard every day to make sure that I can stand in front of you and make it look easy. That's the ultimate truth. And that I have family that I want to see me looking good and feeling good, not just talking about it, but actually doing it. And that's what life is about. Life is about doing. Life is about experiences. You want to be able to tell people what you did and what you're going to do. But you still want to get caught up in only talking about the past. There's a present and there's a future, and the present leads to the future. So in the present time, exercise is as important as anything else. I got a wardrobe problem. So I have cones here. Now I'm going to show you the different size cones I have in just a moment after these messages. I have many different sizes to the cones I use. Some are this height. One thing I'd like to do with the cones are, I like to get cones that compact. So if you press on them, they fold. Also with holes in them, so if we use them outside and there's wind, they don't get knocked over. The smaller cones are for when people, they get better at doing it. They don't have to use a high cone so they can reach a low cone. So if I had a cone here, from its seated position, doing something like a reach can be obtained by just sitting down. And I got the cone right in front of me, reaching forward and coming up. Working my lower back, a little bit of glutes. Or if you can stand, then you do it from the standing position, and it would look like this. The goal is, if you can see me from the side, if you're going to do a reaching motion like that, don't let your shoulders go past your toes or hanging on ligaments. You're going to hurt your back. The reason I have small cones and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger is because if someone can do this, and that's too easy, then you have a cone all the way to the ground, and you can do that. If that's too easy, staggered stance. So now you don't have as good a balance, and with the chair out of the way. This took me a very long time, so it doesn't mean you can do it on the first try, but if you can stand on one leg, eventually that reach becomes there. Now, for someone who at some point was not able to walk primarily because I couldn't balance, I would stand up and fall right over. I'm impressed. And I pat myself on the back because I never thought I'd be able to do stuff like that and then show others how to do it. I also, speaking of weight loss, I lost about 100 pounds since I got diagnosed. It's good, but now it's hard to gain weight. It's really hard because I'm active. And I like to eat too, but I'm active. Every day I'm working with people from the time I leave in the morning till the time I get home at night. So while everyone's getting their workouts, I'm trying to keep up. And by the end of the day, wiped out. I can tell you everything that happened that day, but not anything that happened 5 minutes ago. Can you relate?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I don't remember what I was talking about. So that's something that helps with balance. How many people in here are looking for better balance? Well, if you want to have better balance, the way to do it's not standing on one leg. It starts with stability. It starts with this. How many people watched that horrible game last weekend, the Super Bowl? Was it?
Yeah.
It was horrible. I mean, come on. It was great if you're a Philadelphia fan, but if you're a football fan and you want to see a well-played game, it wasn't a Super Bowl. I mean, it was like you get the two best teams to play and say one of them's not going to play their best that they've played or not, probably close to the worst they played in 2 years. But that's from preparation and overconfidence. MS doesn't give us overconfidence, but we can be prepared with MS. You know, if you listen to the stuff your doctor tells you, you take the medicine if they think you should take a medicine, and you do the things that they say to do, once you leave their office, it's out of their hands. I don't know of any doctor that wants a patient leaving their office and coming back and appearing the same exact way that they did the last time if there's room for improvement. And when is there room for improvement? Always. And you should think about that all the time. Where are you now? Where can you possibly get? You know, how high can you get with your goals? You know, what's reachable? And the only way to do it is to climb that ladder step by step. And that's what exercise is. It's building blocks. You build things. When you start the first day, your movements are not smooth because most likely you haven't done them before. How many people in here have worked with a dumbbell? How many people in here know how a dumbbell is named? Anyone? Okay, quick history. Long time ago, big bells, they took the piece out of the middle. Now it doesn't make sound. They do exercise with it. You got a dumbbell. Dumb, no noise. That's where they got dumbbell from. So now you learned something. If you learned anything today, now you know how dumbbells got their names. If you were to do a bench press with a dumbbell for the first time, even if it's 10 pounds, 5 pounds, something light, it's going to look like this. Like you have ataxia. You know when you're touching the nose, finger, nose? That's what it would look like, even if you don't have ataxia, because you haven't neurologically adapted to that motion. The more often you do it, the smoother the motion gets. You ever seen a baby deer when they're born, what they look like? They look like they have MS, right? You know, you see that they go to take a step and they do this, right? That's because they never did it before. And within like 3 days, they're running. You'd think they've been running forever. That's the same thing that you go through when you exercise. And if you can neurologically adapt, you got to learn how to, and you got to let it happen. And then you become a teacher or inspiration to someone else who can't do it or won't do it or hasn't done it, who is scared to do it. But the majority of the people that don't exercise, I think, are afraid of what the outcome is going to be. That's one of the biggest reasons. And being scared to exercise is a good reason not to exercise. It's also a good reason to learn how to do it correctly and not be scared. Because if you go into something scared, you're going to get not as good of a result. But if you're confident, your confidence will take you to that level that you want to be at. And I can attest to that. I've had people that thought they'd never walk again run. Not because of me, because of them. I had somebody that was shooting for 50, well, she was shooting to be able to do a push-up. She was turning 50 years old in a year from the time I started working with her. When I got her to do a push-up, she then said, I want to do more than one. So she did 2 the next time. By her 50th birthday, she did 58 push-ups in 1 minute and was so upset. You know why? Because she wanted 60. Yeah. And then she went and did it. She also went and ran a half a marathon. Now, she was a runner. She wasn't able to run for a long time, but once she started doing baby steps, like what I did, when I couldn't walk, I crawled. How many people in here ever crawled on the ground since your diagnosis? I see some hands up there. Crawl. There's nothing wrong with crawling if you can't walk. Actually, that's what led you to walk originally, right? It's the same cadence as a walk. Your arms and your legs are basically making a square so that you're balanced, and that's called stability, and that goes back to what I was talking about with balance. This is stable. In every sport, this is the ready position. So you can easily move this way, this way, this way, and you have support. If you're worse anterior, posterior, put one leg forward, one leg back. That gives you more anterior, posterior support, but not as much lateral. So mix it up. You start here, get a little bit closer together, a little bit closer together, a little bit closer together. Anybody want to come up here and see what it's like to do this? Actually, how many people in here do not have MS? Okay, I want somebody who doesn't have MS to come up here so I can kind of give you in a glimpse what it's like to have MS without having MS. Don't worry, it's not contagious. Come on up.
Fully noted.
Okay, so.
Yes, I give permission.
Thank you. Okay. You know what? You're good. You probably know what I'm going to say next too, don't you?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm assuming you're here with somebody who has MS. If not, I was going to ask you to leave. Okay. So what I want you to do is, do you feel pretty stable right now? Okay. What I want you to do is put both feet together. Now just stand up tall. Do you feel yourself a little bit less stable?
A little less, yeah.
Because there's less
Mentally,
area. No, physically. Do you feel like, okay, so proprioception, that's your ability to know where you are in space. Most of us have no idea where we are in space. But I'm going to show you what it's like to not. I want you to close your eyes. Can you feel yourself swaying a little bit?
Yep.
Now tilt your head back and do that. Can you see him swaying? Well, I'm not going to diagnose you, don't worry. Okay, so how's your balance on one foot?
Can I put my arms out?
Yeah, of course. I didn't give you any rules.
Now try it with my eyes closed.
Uh,
Try with 2 feet.
he did. Now try it with your eyes closed. Welcome to MS. All right, there's a neurologist in the back of the room. I think you may want to see him. Thank you so much. So believe it or not, hearing, seeing, feeling, it's all part of standing and having balance. So you take one of your senses away, everything else is kind of thrown off. Until things start, coming into place, you might be able to do it without vision and stand. People are blind that can walk. They didn't learn to walk as easy as other people did because they can't watch someone do it. But we have visual issues. So if you can't see as well, you're not going to be able to balance as well. You can't focus as well. And you should get glasses if they work, if it's not an MS thing. But if it's an MS thing, have someone nearby. If you work out, have a partner. Get a partner that understands exercise and, more importantly, understands you, understands how you move. Because we all move differently. But we're unique, each of us. We all have our personal bests. Hopefully you guys haven't reached them yet, but still have time to reach them. But I have personal bests. I want to get back to them, but I'd have to gain a lot of weight. Because some of them come with extra muscle, and muscle weighs more than fat. And when I lost all that weight, I lost a lot of muscle. But that happens. The best way to not lose muscle is not to, no, you can lose, is to lose weight while you exercise. Because if you're not exercise, doing resistance exercise, you're going to be using muscle as an energy source. And that we don't want. We want our muscle to work as powerful as it possibly can for us. We don't want to lose that. We don't want to lose ability. We have something that's like, it's like a tug of war. It's pulling our ability and we're trying to stay up. So if you don't do your fight, MS is going to kick your ass. Sorry to be the one to tell you. I'm sure your doctors tell everybody as you're leaving, exercise, eat healthy, don't go through drive-thrus, right? And when you get too hungry, where are you gonna find yourself? A drive-through, right? And then after you're done in the drive-through, you're gonna feel really bad that you're in a drive-through. You're like, what did I do? What went wrong? That's where planning comes. If you plan when you're gonna go to the gym, you should also plan when you're gonna eat, plan your sleep schedule, plan everything to be as perfect as you possibly can with room to fail. Because if you did everything perfect all the time, you wouldn't be here. You'd be doing something perfect out there, and right? Unless you're just really hungry. How many people are doing better right now than they were when they were diagnosed with MS? Now that's something to be proud of, because when you're first diagnosed and you're given that you have multiple sclerosis, that's what it sounds like, right? The room's shaking and oh my gosh, what does that mean? Most people don't even know what MS is when they get diagnosed with it. And when they do, then they think it's something else. But it's very common. It's not as uncommon as we thought, or at least as we were told. I mean, the first 20 years I was living with MS, I was told there was 400,000 to 500,000 people with MS. Then all of a sudden, another million people got MS. No, it just wasn't counted properly. But that's okay, because that just means there's more people out there like you. There's more people like you, and you should talk to these people and tell them about these programs, because these programs bring everybody together. And we all have the same thing in common. We want to be better. We want to be the best we possibly can be, and we want to learn what it is that we don't know. That's why you're here. So I've only got a couple of minutes. I want you to think about some questions, because I'm ready to answer them. And if I can't, I'm going to run out the room. So you got a question? We're going to do a Q&A in a couple of minutes. That's okay. But remember, she's got a question. So if she forgets, tell the person next to you what the question is. How many times has that happened to you? I've learned to talk through interruption, because otherwise I will never remember what I was going to say. Even if I talk through it, I might not remember. But that's part of having MS. How many people in here have that issue where you go to say something, someone interrupts you, and...
MS or old age?
I'm sorry, what was I saying?
Is that MS or old age?
Everybody that has questions, I need you to wait till we're ready to do questions.
Yeah, he asked if that was MS or old age. You know what? Who cares? You know? What's the difference? If it's old age or MS and you can't remember, you got to talk to your doctor about it. Because there's something causing your memory to decline. It might be something that you're doing. You might be overdoing something. You might not be doing enough. You might be doing the same thing over and over again. But you got to switch things up, live your life, enjoy life. That's what life is for. You get one shot at it. And if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're going to be upset. But if you do it right, once is enough. Now we can open up to questions.
Well, first we have to thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Who has a question? Raise your hand. So I know, and I know where I'm going next. I'll be there next. I'll be there first.
What about pool therapy? What do you suggest for pools?
Everybody's different, but the starting point is 80 to 84 degrees. That's what the pool should be. And if it seems like it's too cold, it's not. That's the proper temperature for exercise for people with MS. Now, when you get in the water, you can do things that you can't out of the water because of gravity. So if you can walk in the water and you can't walk out of the water, I would walk in the water. But remember, always when you're doing exercise aquatically, you're going to be tired when you get out. And some people don't realize that when they go to get out of the pool, they're exhausted and they're completely wiped out. So pace yourself and stay hydrated, because that's another thing that happens when you're in the water. You get dehydrated because you don't think about drinking because you're in the water. But you do get dehydrated. You can't see your sweat because it's in the water. And you lose water not just from sweat, but from breathing. And if you don't believe me, breathe against your glass. And every breath is like that. So stay hydrated, back to what I said at the beginning. All right, next question.
Next question. Did you have another one?
It's close to that one. That's kind of the pool, because it is hard to do exercises when you can't stand upright for very long, and the back support and stuff. What would be your number one and number two core exercises while you're in the pool?
Holding on, how is your upper body strength?
Upper body's not bad.
Hey, so you can do push-ups in the pool. That's great. You can do push-ups against the side of the pool, when you're submerged in water, but not your head. So you can do push-ups and you can even do pulls. You get a ladder, you can do a pull. So for every push you do, try to find a pull so you don't get imbalances. But that's a great one. Another one is walking with your hands around the pool. Just using your hands. If your legs aren't able to take the steps, use your arms. But do it in both directions so you get internal and external rotation. It's good for your shoulders. Those are two good starting points for pools. Yeah. And then if you can walk in the pool, walk in the pool. That's it. Just walk. You got resistant walking in the pool because water.
Any other questions here? Okay, I'll be there in a minute. In the meantime, a person online wants to know, is it mostly necessary to do resistive training in order to keep body mass?
That's the only way. If you don't do resistance, your muscles don't get the stimulus that they need to grow. So each time that you do resistance exercise, you might get sore the next day. If you do it again in a couple days, you're getting stronger and stronger and you're retaining muscle. So that goes back to like what I was saying. If you're looking to lose weight, make sure you're doing some kind of resistance exercise so you maintain muscle mass.
Thank you.
As far as the treadmill, is there a right way to stand and walk on it so you don't hurt your back and your hips and things like that?
How do you walk when you're not on a treadmill?
I'm not ever holding on to anything, and when I'm on a treadmill, I hold on to something, and I actually grab the front, because it's going.
That's fine. That's okay to do.
Faster.
That's what that's there for. To hold on to if you're not confident. If you're not confident, yes, you should hold on. But the most important thing about using a treadmill is that little clip that everyone tries to shove somewhere else. You clip that on your shirt. That way, if you start to stumble or you lose your balance, the machine will shut off right away.
I just didn't know if there was because when you hold on to it, you can actually go faster than if you're walking outside on your own.
Right, because you're supporting with your arms as well. So there's a good and a bad thing that comes with that. The good thing is, yes, you're able to move faster. And it's important not to reach for that handle, because then you're one of those people that are using a walker and you're walking like this, your back's going to get bad. So you keep your posture upright. And the only thing you're lacking when you're doing the holding on part is your cadence. And that's a really, really, really important thing, is to walk with cadence. Because like I was saying before, just like crawling, if I'm stepping forward with my left leg, my right hand's coming forward. So at all times, I can go down and make a square. So when both feet are on the ground, this hand's here, this hand's here. You ever see somebody walking like this? If I see someone walking like that, I'm worried that they have Parkinson's. That's something that I'm in touch with. I understand that. Now, it doesn't mean they have Parkinson's, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Walking like this is good for your core. It keeps your ability to rotate at the hips.
So it would be better than to slow down and walk like that instead of holding on and having to keep up with a hamster wheel.
As long as you're comfortable. But you start slow. You always start slow and work your way up. Even if it's a baby step, even if it's a 1/10 of a mile per hour of an increase, that's how you do it, as long as you're comfortable and as long as you feel steady.
Yes, I like what you said about when you're walking in the pool, using your arms. I'm going to start doing that. But, do you have any suggestions? Because as of exercising, I can't bend my left knee. It's a lot of pain. I can't bend it.
Okay, so when I have somebody that I'm working with that can't bend their left knee, one thing I definitely don't do is have them bend their left knee. So you focus on your right leg. Don't think everything has to be geared towards the leg that's not doing as well, or else the one that's doing great isn't going to be doing so well eventually because you're focused on the other one. So if you can't bend it, if you can't actively bend it, I would passively bend it. Make sure that you can do it yourself. Is it locked? Do you have a knee injury or is it spasticity?
Actually, my left quadricep muscle snapped. And when they sewed me up, because of my MS, I was not able to complete the whole physical therapy. So the tissues never healed, and that's what's causing all the pain.
So you probably have a contracture now, which means shortening of the tendon. That's not, I mean, that's secondary to MS, what's happened. MS just made it harder to recover, and now you're with a bad knee that didn't recover properly because MS stopped your recovery. You can still get help from PT. As far as you can get electrical stimulation, you can get all kinds of different things that they have available to help that leg work better. So I would go back, don't give up on PT. Because then you're giving up on your leg. Don't do it.
How much, when you're in the pool on the treadmill, how often and in what length of time should you be on the treadmill and in the pool? And how often?
Okay, so that's a trick question. I can't tell you to do it for an hour if you can't do it for an hour. So you do what you can, 2 to 3 times a week. 2 to 3 times a week aerobically, 3 to 4 times a week anaerobically, or flip-flop it, depending on which one you can do. You just start at a point. I don't have it on me, but I carry a stopwatch. It's a really good way to test yourself. So you see how much you can do for how long, and the next day try to go a little bit longer and a little bit longer. Don't cross the hour point. You're probably thinking, an hour, are you crazy? Believe it or not, you get in better shape, you can do more the more you do. So MS does not stop you from progressing in a good way, with exercise. So just do it. I've got Nikes on, so you can just do it too.
How can we move to release a cramp or a spasm?
Okay. First thing, if this isn't a common area to cramp up, but let's imagine this is my hamstring. Is this a common place, the back of the leg? Right, so if your hamstring starts to cramp, that muscle, what it does is it bends your knee, flexion of the knee or extension of the hip. So what you want to do is you want to stretch the muscle that's cramping. You want to straighten out your leg. So if it was this that was cramping and my hand was getting pulled towards here, you want to try to stretch it out to stop that stimulus that your brain's sending to the muscle. And it's kind of like a shock where I'm going to stop it and stretch it, and it should subside. If it doesn't, you can massage it. There's topical creams and things like that you can use that help especially if you're deficient in magnesium. There's some topical creams that penetrate the skin that you get you get the effects that you would if you were not deficient in magnesium, which is cramping. But going back to what I was saying, the very first thing I started with, stay hydrated, because that's going to make you cramp up if you get dehydrated.
So in other words, what are the best things to do or eat to keep from cramping?
Okay, well, I can tell you some things not to eat. Stay away from the stuff you shouldn't have. Keep a low-salt diet. Keep your diet higher in fruits and vegetables and less saturated fats. All those things will make you less efficient. And the less efficient you are, the more likely you're going to be to cramp. The less you move, the more your muscles are going to feel like they can't move. And when you try to move, they're not going to really know what to do. Anyone ever have that happen where you try to do something and it just didn't come out the way you wanted it? That's because you stopped practicing that.
Next.
Yep.
What are the best 3 stretching exercises?
You mean static or exercise to stretch? There's no 3 best, because everybody has different needs.
If I was laying in the bed.
Okay, if you're laying in the bed, first off, if you're going to stretch and you're going to plan on stretching, the bed's not the right place unless it's right after you got out of the shower. So because a shower is a passive warm-up. You want your muscles to be a little bit warm. So if you're in bed and you're laying down and you have spasticity in the back of your legs, your adductors, I'll show you a couple of stretches. If I get on the ground, can you see me on the ground? Can I be seen on the ground if I get down? Yeah. I'm going to get down and show you. So before I do that, I'm going to show you for your calf, if you're standing, that's stretching your calf. The back leg, foot flat on the ground, lean forward. If you're on the ground, I know some people in the back probably can't see me, but when you were in school, they taught the hurdler stretch. That was for the hamstring. Don't do it. Do the modified hurdler stretch. The modified hurdler stretch is bringing your leg in rather than out like a frog and messing up your medial collateral ligament. We found that out way too late. But and reaching forward. Now, when you reach forward, if you feel behind your knee, that's a tendon. That's not stretching. But if you can touch your toes or reach for something or grab something to pull you towards it, as long as you don't feel it behind your knee, it's a great stretch. If you feel it behind your knee, slightly bend your knee, and the tendon's getting a little bit off stretch, and you get more of the belly of the muscle. That makes sense? So that's for your hamstring. The calf, same thing. You can do it with it being on the ground. And above your hamstring is your glute, your butt. Cross your leg and pull your leg towards you. If you're seated in a chair, now this you said it in bed, that's why I'm on my back. If you're seated in a chair, all you got to do is, you see how you're sitting with your leg crossed. Do it like the men do it and lean forward. So if you're seated with your leg like this, and these can be done in a chair too, so it doesn't have to only be done in bed. Reaching for your foot, that's the hamstring. Just bringing your foot up is your calf. Crossing your leg like this, reaching forward. It's going to stretch your glute, your butt. Having your feet together like this and pressing down with your elbows, adductors. Adductors and abductors are common areas to be problematic for spasticity. Bring one leg over the other leg for the abductors, abductors that push away. So that'll stretch into the IT band. If your leg's straight, you'll get more of a stretch in your IT band. And the other thing is, get a rolling pin. A rolling pin. You can go to a fitness shop and pay a lot of money, or you can go to the grocery store, buy a baking pin, and roll it on the muscle. If you get a roller bed, then you can't do it in bed. But a rolling pin's a really good one for getting
one last question,
cramps
okay?
out. Yep.
One last question. If a person uses a walker, how can they maintain a better upright position, not the usual bent over walk, and you can swing your arms? So what should they do? What should they do, period?
If you have a walker, the only way the walker is going to work is if you're holding on to it. So your arm swing is kind of out. But the reason that you're holding on to it is because you cannot walk without holding on to it. So therefore, the arm swing isn't as important. So if you do have a walker, stay in the cage. Most walkers have the same shape, right? You don't want the walker too far away from you. You want the walker close to you so you can stand upright, and you use it that way. And then you walk. Otherwise, you're here. This is not what you want. This is going to cause a lot of problems, and they're not going to be MS problems, but MS are going to make them that much worse to get better and overcome. So you want the walker close to you. You don't want leaning. You want your hips neutral. You don't want them bent. So you walk like that. You walk upright like the next person should. If you feel yourself slouching, stop. If any of you don't feel yourself slouching, I see a lot of people in here slouching, sit up straight. Everybody, if you can sit up straight, sit up straight. Do you know what benefit you have by sitting up straight? Where do you die if you can't breathe? Oxygen, right? You get more oxygen in your lungs. If you sit up straight, chest out like you should, it may feel weird, but it doesn't look weird. It just feels weird because you're not used to it. But if you take a deep breath while you're upright like this versus when you're here, give it a shot. See which one has more air in your lungs. You can barely get half the capacity when you're leaning forward like that. So oxygen is important. We need it, right?
Okay, let's thank Jeff.
Thank you very much. You guys make the programs. We just talk at them.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.